everybody. It's Lori White, president of the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce. Welcome. Hello. This is episode number 215 of Chamber TV, and we are really thrilled today to be able to dig into a super meaty and super important discussion. We have the team here from Neighborhood Health Plan of Rhode Island, and I'd like to welcome Talia Brookshire and Jason Vaughn. And together, we are going to have a very comprehensive, robust, interesting discussion about what a resource Neighborhood Health Plan is, what its mission is in terms of the healthcare delivery system and taking care of our insured population, and really some exciting news about what they've been up to recently to provide diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies in a more pronounced way into their workflow and into the service delivery on a day-to-day basis. So I want to officially welcome Talia and Jason, and maybe I'll ask each of you to say hello, and then we'll just do a quick little video, 30-second video after we say hello to level set the conversation and make sure that we all have a full appreciation of neighborhood. So with that, Talia, how are you today? Great to see you.
I am wonderful. Thank you, Lori. Thank you for having both of us. And to anyone watching, I am Talia Brookshire, Chief Diversity Officer at Neighborhood. I have been at Neighborhood and in Rhode Island for the past 2.5 years and loving every moment of it.
Fantastic. Jason, how are you today?
Good morning, Lori. I am too blessed to be stressed, so I'll start with that, but very excited to be here today. I'm the Chief Human Resource Officer here at Neighborhood, lifelong resident of Rhode Island. I won't say how many years, but quite a few.
Okay, well, with that set up, let's dive right into the video so that we can get a real-time sense of neighborhood health plans of Rhode Island. So let's take a look.
What does it mean to be a neighbor?
It means being here for one another.
Someone to talk to, a shoulder to lean on.
For 30 years, we've been ensuring that everyone in Rhode Island has access to high-quality, affordable health care.
Advocating for one another.
Treating each other with dignity and respect.
What does it mean to be a neighbor?
Making health care easy for you and your family for 30 years. Neighborhood Health Plan of Rhode Island.
Fantastic. That really explains it quite well and also gives us a sense of your commitment and your responsibility to our community. So with that, before we begin, let me just throw out a real note of congratulations and gratitude to you and the entire team at Neighborhood, Peter Marino, and everybody on the important strategic investment you made recently in in the Thunder Mist health system that was undergoing some fragile economic times. So any thoughts on that? And just want to open that up for discussion about, the importance of Thunder Mist, the importance of primary care, and the special role that each of you plays in this dynamic ecosystem. So Talia, do you want to start?
Sure. Again, thanks for having us here. And quite honestly, Neighborhood was started 30 years ago, and all of our community health partners are important to us. And, we're here to support the state in any way that we can. So, that falls right in line with the mission that we've had for the past 30 years.
Yep, absolutely. And Jason, from a CHRO perspective, I know this was an important strategic objective for the company.
Yes, absolutely, Lori. And again, thanks for having us. I think it really shows how Neighborhood folks, it's people taking care of people, especially in Rhode Island, that are serving our communities. So it aligns very much so with our mission here at Neighborhood. So we were very pleased to be able to lean in and help out one of our community health centers that are serving our community.
So Jason, let me just stick with you for a bit. You have a long and rich history with Neighborhood. Wondering, can you give us a sense of kind of some of the changes, the bigger changes, trends that you've seen in the last, maybe 5 years in terms of the healthcare delivery system and neighborhood's role in this? What are you seeing from a population perspective?
So I would say, Lori, from a population perspective, uh, the culture has been, um, one that is extremely caring. Um, Folks here at Neighborhood care deeply about the members that we're serving, the providers that we work with, and it's really about relationships. And so it's our relationships with our employees, and it's those relationships those employees have with our community partners, our community health centers, the providers, and the members on a day-to-day basis. So over the last 5 years, our culture has only gotten stronger, and I believe um, that has been extremely infectious here at Neighborhood, and is one of our strengths to be able to do the great work that we do each and every day, and for our members and providers.
Yes, looking at the materials that I've been reviewing over the last couple of days in preparation, you can see the degree to which there's empathy and a great deal of caring, as you put it, in terms of the community health partners and the employee base. So, Talia, let me shift over to you. In terms of the people that you serve, what perceptions, changes, trends, observations have you observed? You've been with Neighborhood for a couple of years now. Where did you come from, by the way,
Oh
first?
boy, so that's a loaded question. So my background has always been in DEI, multicultural marketing, community relations, whether internationally or domestic. My background has been in professional sports, Olympic sports, so NASCAR, USA Swimming, USA Track and Field, and then I went into higher education at Western Governors University for a little bit. But one of the things that I can say is that when I got to Rhode Island, I saw something that I'd never seen before, which is people that were really excited about and incredibly proud of their health plan. When I'd walk around with the Green Neighborhood t-shirt, people are like, oh, you work for Neighborhood, right? And that was not something that I'd encountered before. The other piece of it is coming into a building where people genuinely live by the mission. There are a number of people that have applied for Neighborhood or are now currently employed at Neighborhood or been here for 20, 25 years, who they signed on not just for a job, but for a movement. And so that is something that I've never seen before. And it's wonderful to continue to see that day after day.
Well, they must be inspired by you and your infectious enthusiasm and your ability to be able to motivate people. So I have to pick up on this theme of Olympic track and field and professional sports, and the degree to which you lean on those competencies, those skills, those aptitudes, that feeling of wanting to produce your very best. So tell us a little bit about that and how it influences your work.
I mean, at the end of the day, when you think about the sports world, at the end of the day, people likely want to do what is best for their family, what's best for their community. And that's what we're trying to do here at Neighborhood, right? There are a lot of things that can be complex that we can make simple. And we want everyone in Rhode Island to have the best healthcare. We want all of our employees to have the best experience working as possible so they can be innovative. They want to come to work every day. They're smiling when they come into work. When we walk down the hallways and we say, how are you? We actually stop and listen to hear how you're doing, right? And so at the end of the day, I think the similarities are that we want to make our communities, we want to make our families proud and a better place than where we started.
Fantastic. So we are here today to talk about an innovative strategy that you have implemented at Neighborhood, really merging the work of the HR division and the DE&I division to create a new people-centric movement and organization and thrust and priority within Neighborhood. So Talia, do you want to keep going and tell us a little bit about how that got started, and then we'll go to Jason to fill us in on really some of the behind the scenes work that was necessary to be able to pull this together.
Yeah, absolutely. And as much as I'd love to take the credit for the shift in our dynamic, that was really led by our board of directors, by our CEO Pete Marino. where they understand that equity needs to be the focus of everything that we do when it comes to dealing with people, right? And when we had the opportunity to shift some things around and move some things around, I believe that he looked at where we've been for the past 30 years and where can we go for the next 30, 40, 50. And we know that equity needs to be at the forefront. So putting HR ops, and all of that under the DEI umbrella, which essentially flips it from what is traditionally known in this country, where DEI usually sits under HR. It's our way to make sure that no matter what we're doing, if it's dealing with people, whether they work for Neighborhood or it's our members that we're serving, that equity is the very first thing that we think about.
So break that down for our listeners a little bit, Talia. So in terms of, equity first and foremost, how does that play out from, a day-to-day perspective?
Yeah.
What is?
Yeah.
What
So I can give you an example. So for example, one of the things that we do at Neighborhood, we, like many companies, we have a tuition reimbursement program. And traditionally at the end of a person taking a class or some type of professional development, we will reimburse them up to a certain amount. Well, what we looked at is that an equitable practice? Does everyone have the funds upfront necessary to help further their professional development goals? So what we did is we flipped that upside down, essentially, and we offer the funds that are needed for professional development, for classes, for higher education, whatever that may be, up front. So that way that initial cost is not a barrier to someone. So making sure that we're looking at things not necessarily from the practice first, but is that practice equitable first?
So you've described it as equity for people and people for equity, with the "for" in the middle.
Yes.
So it's a nice syllogistic way of being able to transpose those words and those concepts and those theories. So, as a traditional health insurer, tell us a little bit more, Talia, about the way that works with your community health partners and also your insured population.
Yeah, so it's just taking a look at the practices that we have, how we are working with our partners, right? So taking a deeper look into whatever the support is, whatever the resources are, however we're interacting with our partners, whether it's a community health center, whether it's our partners in the state, whether it's our partners with other health plans, whoever it is, our provider community, making sure that as we're engaging with them, we're doing so in an equitable way, meaning that we're not saying, everybody has different needs. So really taking the steps to have deeper conversations with our partners, to have a deeper understanding of what it is that they need and how can we work together to make everything better for our members.
Mm-hmm. How, Jason, one of the issues that many of our chamber members and employers confront on a daily basis is workforce competencies, talent attraction, making sure that the talent pool has the skill sets necessary to be able to work within our companies, within our businesses, within our industries. Tell us about your perception on the workforce pipeline and how you are managing that, and perhaps give us some thoughts, tips, motivation that may help other chamber members really think about workforce today from an equity lens.
Sure, absolutely. I think it really comes down to, as the employer is taking a look inwardly and saying, okay, how do we change, right? There's a talent pipeline out there with all different types of expectations and skill sets. But we as an employer need to figure out, okay, how can I be an employer of choice? What is it that's important to the talent that's available out there to have the most positive experience they possibly can with us here at Neighborhood? So that takes a lot of change, a lot of listening, but how do we operationalize that here at Neighborhood? And what's been very important and top of mind for us is our strategies around creating equity for people and a place where people can be themselves. People can come here and identify with other people They can have conversations with folks who have lived and shared experiences. So representation has been extremely important to us here at Neighborhood, not only for our workforce, for each other who it interacts, but in the communities that we serve. Because if we don't have a workforce that is representative of the communities that we serve, it is going to be rather difficult to build trust amongst employees, trust amongst our community partners. And so that's what we've really been able to do here is we've done a lot of listening, but more importantly, we've taken what we have listened to folks about and turned that into action plans that has resulted in a lot of positive trends for us with higher retention rates, better attrition rates, better than the industry. And so we're getting an ROI at the end of the day as a business because we figured out it's not us trying to change the talent, it's us trying to change ourselves from all levels throughout the organization.
How do you do that, Jason, effectively? When you say, we listen to our employee base, we listen to our talent, we listen to our prospective employees. What, how do you operationalize that?
So first and foremost, I mean, it's a great question, the how, right? So first and foremost, it would be extremely difficult if we didn't have the full support of our board of directors, as well as our president and CEO, Peter Marino. So having their support in really being involved in understanding, okay, what is happening here at the organization? We have many mechanisms in listening posts that we utilize as part of our overall experience management strategy here at Neighborhood. But it's really important that we use hard data and metrics to really drive what is going to be the better decisions for this organization to move forward. And that's been really key for us, because if we continue to go off gut feelings and things that are anecdotal, that can only get you so far. We have to have some hard data behind it. And we have great partners in our communications team that helps us frequently and often enough to communicate back to our employees what's happening, why it's happening. But the key in this is getting the employees involved at the ground level. It is their voice. It is them helping us do the work to transform this organization to a best place to work.
Talia, leading this effort as you are, part of doing that and part of getting a good result is being able to get your population to trust you, to trust your colleagues, to trust that the information that they are going to share is delivered in a way that is meant to be sincere, authentic, without backlash, if you will. So, what did you bring to this discussion? What was the most powerful moment for you as part of this, really uber intensive listening strategy with your talent?
So, what I will say is that Neighborhood is this wonderfully strange land where, and I've described it this way to many people, where one of the biggest shocks that I got when I came to Neighborhood was how receptive and excited, honestly excited is the best word, that the members of Neighborhood, the employees of Neighborhood had toward the DEI work. One of the best examples I had of that is when we launched employee resource groups at Neighborhood. And employee resource groups, for those that don't know, are communities, smaller groups for individuals who have been traditionally underserved in the workplace. And so we have our own open enrollment period for employee resource groups, and folks can raise their hand and say, hey, we want to start this group, right? And so in year one, we had 8 groups that signed up, which is a lot. And I remember talking to our board and saying, hey, usually when things are bright and shiny, we may have 8, but by the end of the year, we might only have 6 because these are employee-led groups. We now have 10 groups, right? So the excitement continues to grow. And We have nearly 30% of our employees participating actively in these employee resource groups. And so when we talk about how things are being led, a lot of this is employee led. What I can bring to the conversation is experience, things that I've seen in other industries that have worked really well or have not worked really well. And maybe these are some things that we should steer away from. But as far as the excitement and taking the reins of the bold effort, that really comes from the voice of our employees, our HR teams listening to the voice of those employees and acting on it, and then continuing to go back for further questioning. But I would say that would be it. It's so much less about myself or even Jason. It's the employees telling us what works for them. And we've seen that as new employees have come into the building and we ask them, what made you come here? And they're like, well, our friends like it here, or, a neighbor works here. We've seen what you've done in the community. We've heard that you've made these changes. That's where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the way community trust begins and continues to build. So 8 to 10 employee resource groups. Now, give us a sense of the types of affinity groups. What are they looking at? What are the specific types of discussion points?
Now, Lori, you're going to ask me to remember all 10 of these.
I'm going
to do the best that I can. Here we go.
Me too.
So I'm not going to remember all of them. I'm not even going to go through all of them, but I can give you a summary of some of them, right? So
okay.
One that we have right now is the ADHD and neurodiversity in the workplace. And that ERG really, it's important to note that you do not have to yourself identify with that community. To be a member of that ERG, you just need to know that you want to support, you want to learn, you want to be a part of the conversation or actively listening in these conversations. So what we found there is there are a lot of individuals who are looking for ways to support family members, co-workers, colleagues that have some level that are neurodivergent. And so that ERG has put on a number of events throughout the workplace that give people who are neurotypical different lenses by which their average everyday workday goes along, or gives tips and resources for how to work with and communicate best and support family members or community members. We have the working parents group. As a working parent, I'm not going to say I have any favorites, but as a working parent. But that group is fantastic because they're looking at the workday through that lens, right? And there are different challenges each of these groups face. And so, one of the things that they heard through some of their surveying is that they wanted to have an opportunity for more of the working parents to bring their families together. So last year they did an event where it was just on a Saturday and the working parents sent out this call to all and bring your family. We'll set up food stations. We'll set up tattoo stations for the kids and games and all of that. But what that looks like is our employees building relationships with each other. And then they said they want to continue that on a weekend, right? And then we continue to grow these type of relationships. So again, like I said, we have 10 of them, but those are a couple of examples of how we're making that change and affecting the relationships in the workplace.
Yeah, Jason, I'll go to you in a minute and ask you what your what your favorite ERG is.
Don't do that to him, Lauren.
I won't say favorite. Anyone that you want to focus on, but back, sticking with you, Talia, the way these work, do you bring in a subject matter expert on work-life balance or ADHD, neurodivergent behavior, do the teams sort of self-generate, self-populate, self-inform?
Yes. So one of the things that I have found in my experience is that it's very important that the ERGs run themselves, right? So they all have a charter. I almost said charter. I'm almost getting used to it. But they all have a charter. They all have an executive sponsor, which is important to note that all the executive sponsors are our vice presidents. And so they come up with a plan for the year. They also have budget. So they come up with a plan for the year. They work with their teams and they say, okay, Some ERGs want to focus on just their commemorative month. So the Afrocentric ERG, they would have a number of big events in February for Black History Month, or the Women's ERG, or whoever it is, but some of them focus heavily around their commemorative month. And then we have other ERGs that do different events throughout the year. Our main thing is that every event that you do, or any type of networking or whatever that looks like, it needs to be educational in some form. At minimum, they all meet once a month and just talk about, what's good, what's the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you need support on. And it's our job as the Office of DEI and the People Division to understand if there are resources that you need to help support whatever it is that you're doing. So we do not, as Jason or I, neither of us are involved in an ERG, because we want to be that impartial support to everyone, right?
Mhm.
So Jason's going to steer very clear from that favorite ERG question. But our job here is to provide the resources. Our job here is to listen when they say, hey, we've recognized this barrier. Let us figure out how to break any barriers down. Let us figure out how to help you be more innovative, not just in your ERG, but also in your day job.
All right, Jason, I'm going to ask you to pick an ERG group that's at the top of the alphabet, so that way we are not being partial towards any one or the other. So pick one that has A to E.
Oh boy. So I'm going to listen to my boss and say I'm involved with all of the ERGs in one way or another, whether it's on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. They are all really an extension of the work that we do here at Neighborhood. That's critically important. And to help achieve our strategic objectives, we bring in our ERGs to work with us within the People Division when we need to communicate certain things out to our workforce. We will go to our ERG co-chairs to the ERG and run things by them and get their feedback. So they've been instrumental for the HR operations work that we all do on a daily basis. I would say they're all my favorite, and I know that's a cop out, but they really are, because they help us as an organization all be successful, and the energy that they have and the motivation, it's just phenomenal to see it all kind of come together, and it feels very organic, and I think that's the key. So I
Yeah.
know I didn't answer your question, but
No, that's good. I really appreciate the way that you embrace the totality of the effort and really gave us some really good examples of how it sort of plays out on a day-to-day, or as you said, on a month-to-month basis. The requirement they meet, they have a budget. That's important. When you say you have a budget, that indicates that you're making it a priority and that it's people led. So, Talia, no doubt, these are some of the aspects or the factors that have created a situation where neighborhood healthcare has been recognized nationally for performance by CMS.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of different factors. So when you're looking at what we're doing from just an overall employee engagement standpoint, right? They serve as essentially our way of understanding how to best communicate, work with, relate with, provide service to our members. And that is why we are one of the top 10 Medicaid plans in the country, right? That's why we've had the high marks that we've had for the past 30 years, is because we are listening to the groups. We're listening to the groups when they say, hey, we think we need X training. Okay, let's figure out how to make that happen. Or, hey, why do we do this in the way that we've done it for the past so-and-so years? You do realize that we have a new workforce coming in, or new members, or whatever that looks like. We're at the end of the day, if you take nothing else, we're taking the time to listen to our employees and make sure they have the best experience that's possible, whether it's member, provider, employer.
I love the backdrop, and I love some of what you are displaying there. Show us one of your motivational placards there, and what is the entrepreneur nutrition That looks
Yeah,
interesting.
so that one, it says to have proper nutrition, you need 10,000% hustle, 100% motivation, 100% persistence, 100% discipline, 100% passion, 0% fear, and 100% knowledge.
Oh boy. So what was the 1,000%?
1,000% hustle.
Hustle. Okay.
Hustle. We get it done.
Okay. Spoken from an Olympian, right?
No, let's be very clear here. I am not an Olympian. I am not an Olympian. I live my life supporting people that want to make big changes. So that's what I did.
Okay. Let me ask you about another issue that a lot of, most major employers are dealing with today, and that's really understanding how to introduce AI into the workforce and how to do it in a way that comforts employees, makes them appreciate that a digital twin can come in alongside them, support them on routine matters, free their mind up for more creative pursuits, but to use it in a way that is a force for good, not something that is, threatening to future employment, and you will. So, how is neighborhood looking at the introduction of AI training and AI tools as it goes forward? So, Talia, do you want to start with that, and we'll go to Jason and
Yeah,
really talk this through?
very, very carefully.
Yeah.
Very carefully, very slowly, very intentionally. There's, a lot of the things that are out there right now are still being tested. So we are just being very mindful. We are educating ourselves. We are learning more and more about the resources that are out there for us. And but we're not going to rush to do something. We want to make sure that we are doing things in the right way, in a way that makes sure that there are no risks to our members, employees, providers. So that answer will be slowly and carefully.
As quickly as we can and as slowly as we must.
Yes.
But Jason, the notion that these tools will obviously never replace people and people's ability to exercise compassion and judgment and effective decision making. Having said that, there are probably ways that we can introduce and use some of these tools safely, responsibly. How does your perspective on this look?
So I agree 100% with Talia. It has to be, at least for us, very well thought out and in partnership with our chief information officer. What is our overall technology strategy, and how does AI play a role in that? That is extremely important for us. But I think communications are going to be key in all of this, throughout all levels of the organization. AI, from my lens, is a way to look at how to help an individual enhance the work that they're doing, or more or less remove some of the non-value added work so that they can focus on other things, whatever they may be working on. I think that's going to be key in a lot of spaces for us. We also have to make sure that our data and information, especially from a health plan perspective, is protected, and also from an employee perspective. So I think in this space, being a slow follower is not such a bad thing, but we have to have some level of making progress towards, where are the areas that we can really leverage AI. I know a lot of HR organizations are looking at job descriptions and how to deliver certain trainings and testing things out. So I feel that's going to be a great way for us to enhance the overall work experience and work processes of our employees, and move away from the notion that this AI is going to actually replace bodies that are here doing the work.
Well said. Really appreciate the perspective. So we have 2 minutes left. So let me wrap this up by continuing with you, Jason, and then Talia, you will have the last words. But if folks want to learn more about your people division, your people strategies, Any final words, thoughts, advice, guidance, motivation, Jason?
Sure, absolutely. Talia and I have been very much aligned since we met, and there is nothing that we are doing here from a people perspective that we're not willing to sit down and share with others. We're not only here to make neighborhood a great place and best place to work in Rhode Island, but to help out other companies to make Rhode Island stronger. And the only way to do that is for us to share what's worked for us. And maybe there are some things that will work elsewhere that people can leverage. So we're more than willing to offer that to others that are interested.
Jason, that was an amazing thought. Like a new sort of employee resource group or affinity group that
Maybe.
the chamber members would be interested in. Talia, I would love to come out to neighborhood and visit with you and with Jason and your team.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And just to piggyback off of what Jason is saying, I happen to have this handy dandy 4 report here that goes with me everywhere I go. But essentially what that is everything that we're talking about, right? How we are providing equity for people and being the people for equity. It talks about our promises from a DEI and equitable standpoint, but it also talks about how we're going to achieve all of these measures. And it holds us externally accountable for many of these measures that do have deadlines and specific numbers in them. So I strongly would encourage anyone to go on our website and take a look at the 4 report. And, just as people are trying to figure out how they're maneuvering around DEI questions or structure or any of that, just a lot of people are still trying to make the business case for diversity. I think neighborhood has realized that diversity is the business case. Right. And so I would just strongly, use us as a resource. We love talking, as you can tell. But like Jason said, we're not here solely for the things that are happening in this building, but also just for the Rhode Island community as a whole.
Yeah, you make an amazing point there in terms of, really understanding how it fits into the greater whole and where the spotlight, in fact, shines and whether it should be flipped on its head, as you have so beautifully illustrated. So show us the 4 report again.
Happy to do so.
Okay. All right. So people can find that on your website, which is nhpri.org. Is that right?
That is right.
That is right. Okay, there it is right on the screen. This has been an amazing conversation. I know that I have learned a lot from both of you, Talia and Jason. This has been amazing. So I'd love to follow up and certainly invite all of our chamber members that are listening that are interested to take a look at the 4 report and reach out potentially to you for further guidance. And thank you so much for your attention today and for being with us and for giving us 1,000% hustle.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.